I'm 33 years old and married. I've been married to my husband David for 10 years, and we have a daughter named Betty, who is in first grade. We three make up our family. Since I was little, I have always loved to sketch, and I currently work in the arts. Additionally, I'm expecting our second child, and as my tummy develops, every day gets tougher. Despite his hectic schedule, David makes an effort to arrive home early and assists with household tasks and our daughter's care. Up until lately, everything in my life was going well. Our apartment is on the first floor of a high-rise structure. I noticed a woman moving into our building the other day while I was returning from shopping. It turned out to be Emma, a middle school buddy. Since then, I had not seen her. She was shocked to see me and inquired as to if I also lived there. She informed me she was moving in after I said yes. Emma's expression changed when she saw that I shared a building with her. She was astounded that I, a dropout from high school, resided on the first floor, and she was on the 35th. She had an amazing view from the 35th floor, and appeared to please her that I was on the ground floor. She boasted about how her apartment was her office for the new business she was beginning, and also her place of residence. I told Emma that I was an artist when she inquired about my line of work. She acted as though drawing wasn't a genuine career and was disdainful. I told her that I had made a career out of something I loved because I felt hurt. Emma seemed unimpressed, speculating that I must be making a pitiful $900 a month. David arrived at that moment with our daughter Betty. After giving them a quick glance, Emma made a crude remark about David's modest income and work attire. I became enraged and eventually lost my cool with her, yet she persisted in her rude and patronizing behavior. Finally, I'd had enough of Emma's rudeness. I told her she needed to apologize for what she said about my husband. Emma just laughed and asked why she should apologize. Then she noticed my pregnancy and commented that it must be tough financially with another child on the way. She questioned if we could even afford to live in our apartment. I didn't want to hear any more of her nasty comments, so I grabbed David and Betty and went home. Emma called after us, inviting us to visit her on the 35th floor for a better view, but I ignored her. I couldn't stop feeling angry at Emma all day. That night, after Betty went to sleep, David asked what had happened. I told him how Emma had made fun of me for dropping out of school and belittled my work. David was furious. He knew about my past and had chosen to marry me knowing who I am. We decided to avoid Emma for a while. Fortunately, we didn't run into Emma for a month, which allowed us to live peacefully. Then one day, we received an invitation to a school reunion. I was excited to catch up with my old friends, even though I was a bit worried about running into Emma again. But since I wanted to see my friends, I decided to go. The reunion was held in a hotel ballroom. As soon as I arrived, I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. We had a great time catching up, talking about our families and careers. But then, out of nowhere, we heard Emma's voice behind us, saying something rude about being around poor people. As expected, Emma was still the same. She showed up at the reunion too, but we didn't notice her at first because we were focused on talking with our close friends. Emma was wearing heavy makeup and a flashy dress that seemed out of place. She had always been self-centered and made awkward comments back in middle school, so we weren't surprised to see she hadn't changed. One of my friends finally spoke up and asked Emma who she was calling poor. Emma replied, "Who else but Mary? She's a dropout, so she must be poor. I live on the 35th floor, so it's like a master-servant relationship." Emma laughed after saying this, and some friends were upset and confronted her. But she didn't seem sorry at all. Emma kept making rude comments, suggesting I should move to a cheaper apartment if I didn't want to be considered poor. She even told me to leave the reunion since I supposedly earned only $900 a month. My friends were confused and asked if I really only made $900 a month. I explained that's just what Emma believes. Emma then interrupted and said I was only working a part-time job because I was a dropout, while she was a CEO. One of my classmates spoke up and said, "Emma, don't you know Mary is a well-known artist?" Emma looked puzzled and asked, "An artist? Who cares?" I decided to clear things up with Emma, not wanting her arrogance to ruin the reunion. I told her that I had studied art and worked in the field right after middle school, and yes, I had dropped out of formal education. Emma scoffed and said studying art was just a hobby, not a real job, and that I was still a dropout who ran away from studying. Emma clearly didn't understand. I decided to explain more about my work. I told Emma that I had spent years training and now run an art gallery while also creating my own artwork. I have fans and have even held my own exhibitions. Some of our classmates have bought my art. After training in France, I returned to New York and started my art career, which has become successful in recent years. David and I met at one of my exhibitions, and we hit it off, which led to our marriage. Even with all this, Emma didn't seem to understand. She said an exhibition is just for fun and that she was clearly the winner because she is a CEO. I was frustrated and told her that this wasn't about winning or losing. I take my art seriously, even if she doesn't see it that way. Emma then asked why we live on the first floor if I'm making so much money. I explained that we used to live on a higher floor, but since I'm pregnant and elevators can be inconvenient, we moved to the first floor for convenience. Emma didn't seem to accept my explanation. My friends and even some classmates knew about my career as an artist, but Emma probably didn't consider it because she had no interest in art and looked down on me for being a dropout. I was about to share another detail when I saw David and Betty at the entrance. Betty was running toward me with David following behind and looking a bit embarrassed. David apologized, saying he got caught up with work and brought Betty along. Emma then noticed David's sharp suit and asked why he was dressed up when he was in work clothes the last time she saw him. David greeted my friends, thanked them for being kind to me, and asked if there was anything they needed. Just then, the reunion organizer rushed over to thank us for providing the venue. He praised the food and drinks, saying everything was excellent. David's parents owned the hotel, and David, now the CEO, had generously offered it for free. Emma's face turned pale when she heard this. She had looked down on me as poor. Here I was, an artist and the wife of a CEO. Emma was shocked and asked why someone like me, a dropout, was married to someone so important, while she, an elite, was still single. She seemed bitter and challenged me on how I managed it. David finally noticed Emma and said, "Oh, we've met before. Sorry for being in work clothes last time. I was helping with a neighborhood cleanup. As the owner of the high-rise, it's important to maintain good relations in the community." Emma's face went white. "Wait, you own the high-rise?" she asked. David explained that his family had been wealthy for generations, involved in hotel management and owning many properties, including the high-rise where we live. David then invited Emma to visit the penthouse, which has a great view of the Empire State Building. Emma was stunned again and asked why we lived on the first floor if we had a penthouse. I explained that because I'm pregnant, we moved to the first floor for convenience, but both the penthouse and the first floor are ours." Emma was speechless and looked like she couldn't believe it. Seeing the reaction from our friends and feeling that I had ruined the reunion's atmosphere, I decided to leave with David and Betty. As we were leaving, Emma muttered something rude about a dropout being so cocky. I turned to Betty and said, "What matters most is what's inside. Never look down on people." Betty cheerfully added, "Emma, if you keep making faces like that, happiness will run away from you." Everyone laughed, and the mood of the reunion improved. Emma, now embarrassed, quickly left. The reunion continued on a positive note. I enjoyed the rest of the evening with my friends, who also had bad experiences with Emma. Betty's comment had made everyone feel better. Months went by, and we didn't see Emma at the high-rise again. One day, David came home and told me that Emma had finally moved out. She hadn't paid rent for 3 months, and we had to get a lawyer to issue an eviction notice. Emma left the apartment very quickly after that. Emma had left the flat just as David had described it. She removed her pricey stuff and computer, but left everything else behind. The furniture and clothes were still there. I was dubious at first. Then a buddy gave me an update on Emma's circumstances. She had been feigning success when, in reality, she was unemployed. Her profession had given her some savings, but she was unable to maintain her lifestyle, and she went behind on her rent. She couldn't afford to get rid of her possessions, so she left them behind because she didn't know where else to go. Finding out that Emma was still a burden to others despite her crisis disgusted me. Because of her awful disposition, she lacked any friends or co-workers who could support her. She is currently working 2 part-time jobs and living in a dilapidated apartment. She used to look down on me as a dropout and boast about being an elite. Her dignity is definitely broken now. I'm hoping she picks up more modesty and honesty in her life. In my opinion, I'm content with my existence. I'm still painting, enjoying time with my daughter and spouse, and anticipating the arrival of our future child. Our 3-person family gets along great, and I can't wait to grow it. I never stop trying to safeguard our pleasure.